For this assignment, I'm going to be reviewing the website and app FlipGrid. I use FlipGrid quite frequently in the classroom and have had to really kind of just mess with it to figure out what it is and how far we can go with it. Really what FlipGrid is it's a social learning platform that really just allows the teachers to ask a question, or you can ask like for a reading response, and then the students can respond in video. Students can get super unique about it and creative, and they can also respond to each other, which creates great classroom discussions and just a good way to start learning how to effectively respond to someone, even if you disagree. So constructive criticism or how to disagree in an appropriate manner. So it's just a really good tool to use in the classroom. To start FlipGrid, this is what it looks like on your laptop. The students, or if you have an iPad in the classroom, it will just be an application that you can download from self-service if you're using a school device, or from a home device, you would just go to the App Store and download FlipGrid. It is a free website. There is a way that you could get an upgrade, but the FlipGrid free site is actually phenomenal. So for educator sign up, you would just create your own FlipGrid. It's going to work for me. Okay. I signed up with Google using my school email address. I'm already signed in, so I won't take you through that process, but it's pretty easy to sign up, and it kind of gives you your own ID. Mine is unique to me, so it's just my last name and then a couple of numbers after it. I'm already signed in, so you would pretty much see like your activity board here. It kind of looks like there's a lot going on, but focus on My Grids at the top. So you would click on My Grid, and I already have a grid created, but I'll walk you through how to create a grid and what a grid is. Really, a grid is just kind of like your subject matter. So I have a grid for language arts, or it could be like a grid could be for some content that you're teaching. So I'm going to create a new grid. I won't do it for language arts, but maybe I'll do it for history. And all you want to do is click on Add New Grid. I'll name it, I'll just name it American History since I teach American history. My students do not have a school email. I don't want to really share it publicly. I want it to be a more private thing between me and the students. So I will create IDs for every student. I went super easy with this one in my language arts grid. I really just gave them a 2-digit number. It has to be a 2-digit number or more. So I just started with 0, 1, and then went all the way up to 17 for my 17th student. Here it will also generate a FlipGrid URL, and it will take you straight to that particular grid. So if a student or a parent were to use this URL, it won't go to my language arts grid. It will only go to my American history grid. This is really great for some of probably the older classrooms, if there's different classes that the student has and you don't want to get anything mixed up. Here, you can manually add your students. I'm just going to make a pretend list. I'll just do Jane Doe, and I'll give her the student ID 01. And so then I will add that. And then I will do let's just do John Smith. I can type, and he'll be 02. So I'll just go through and add my entire class of 2, and these numbers will be unique to them. If I have several different grids, I'll probably give them the same identifier code, because when they go to log in, all they have to do is put in their code. They'll also have a unique QR code that you can print out. I'll show you where that is, but let's just say I finished my student list and I hit next. I can launch my grid, or I can also print out the student list with all the unique QR codes. And so this will just be unique to them. It'll kind of give my personal grid code, and it will give them their student ID, or if you're using a classroom iPad or Kindle, you could just really go to the camera and kind of scan this QR code, and it'll bring up where they need to go, and it will should have their name attached to that particular grid. So this is kind of nice. These can be printed out, or they can be laminated and kept in their desk or whatever. See if I can find myself. Here we go. So then I'm just going to launch my grid, and I can, if I used Google Classroom, I could send this out to all of my students. But I don't use Google Classroom, so I won't copy that. This is also, you can copy this and send it to parents if you have a at-home project where the parents will need to help the students get onto FlipGrid as well. Okay, so here my American history grid is ready. Now you might think, okay, that's a lot of steps, but if you're making a grid for specific subject matter, you will only have to make that grid once. So for instance, my language arts grade, or my language arts grid, I have just kept, and I just add several different reading responses or projects, and I just keep adding to it. So if we switch to a new novel, I can add some more responses to this grid, and it will just always be language arts grid. So going into my American history grid, I will click on it, and it always gives you this welcome topic. You can go through it and read it. I don't want to, and I don't want the kids to be confused, so I will just go ahead and delete that from my grid. Yes, I want to delete. I always like to put a picture here. I might put something history related, so if you have multiple grids on your site, the students won't get confused, and respond to a topic in the language arts grid. It'll only be the history grid. Okay, now I want to add a new topic. So last week we learned Magellan's Journey. So I'm just going to think of a topic I might want the students to respond to. So let's say, for instance, I want to know why, in fact, Magellan didn't navigate or circumnavigate the globe. In fact, he was, I don't know how I could say this for the students, he was named as the first person to circumnavigate, but why did he technically not navigate the globe? So I would probably put that in, title it Magellan's Journey. The recording time I might have I'm probably not going to want to talk about Magellan's Journey for more than 2 minutes. And then I would put in my question. Why did Magellan actually, maybe I'll put technically. No, that doesn't sound right either. Why was Magellan, okay. Why was Magellan not the first person to circumnavigate the globe? Okay, I don't know. I would take probably more time on that question and make it a little bit more kid-friendly. I'm just kind of throwing it in there. So then sometimes I add an emoji to change up all my different responses or questions, because I just want them to be able to differentiate between all the different questions and not accidentally put a video on another question that they are answering. You can record yourself here talking about it. So I could just put a quick question under the prompt, and then I can record myself just talking about Magellan's Journey and what he had faced. There's all kinds of other things that I haven't really gone into yet. I can upload a teaching video. I can find something on YouTube or Vimeo that maybe would add to my prompt, but I'm just going to go ahead and add an emoji for my 5th graders because I don't think they need all the other stuff. No, I don't even know what I would add for Magellan. Yeah, there we go. We'll just do a boat for Magellan's journey. Okay, so I'm going to create the topic. I have put longer reading responses in here. I've had to put a couple of different questions in here, but I'm just going to make this super easy for now. All right, I'm creating the topic. I have my FlipGrid URL for the students. That is if I'm using Google Classroom. I'm not using Google Classroom, but say for instance, I want the kids to respond to this question in class. Well, what I would do is AirPlay my computer to my TV or to your Apple TV, and I would click on the URL code and kind of just, I can make it a little bigger. No, my computer's not letting me. I'll put this on my Apple TV screen, and they'll be able to use their iPads or Kindles to scan it using their camera, and then it'll take them immediately to the question. Or, all set, I can give them this flip code as well. So I can say, okay guys, go ahead and click on FlipGrid, type in this flip code, put your code in, whether you're number 01 or 17, and then it'll ask them for the code and they'll just type this in. And then this will be the screen that pops up for them. Why was Magellan not the first person to circumnavigate the globe? So then I will show you what the students see, because this is the teacher's screen. So if I were to go into, I'll get rid of this, the students, enter a flip code. If they clicked on the app FlipGrid, they would want to enter the FlipGrid code that I have here. So I'm just going to write it down really quick. I've got 571D17F4. Okay, so they'll go on their app and type in 571D17F4. Okay, go to my grid. Okay, this is where they put their own personal ID in. So let's just say, for instance, I will take student 02. Okay, and I hit let's go. I'm not going to save that. Okay, so that was John Smith. This is what it looks like. Usually I'll put like I said, a picture in the back that might have something history related. This is a menu. If I were to have multiple prompts, I would click on this bar here and I could toggle through the different prompts as a student. But right now there's only one prompt, and my prompt was about Magellan. So as a student, the student would go ahead and click here to record. I'm going to cover my camera because I don't want to be recorded. But if I clicked on here, the iPad will ask if you want to use the microphone or the camera. You want them to say yes or allow. This is what my laptop is asking. I'll hit allow. So I have covered my camera. But the students can also use like an emoji face if they want to cover their face, which is kind of cool. So if my face was here, I could put an emoji in front of it. I don't always let them do that. Sometimes I just want to see their face. There's a whiteboard where they can actually write on here. They could put text on the side if they wanted to. They could add all kinds of backgrounds. They could put a sticky note to kind of make like a little bit of a, I don't know, a note next to what they're saying. And then they would press this to record for 2 minutes. And so here I am talking about why Magellan wasn't actually the first person to circumnavigate the globe. He was killed before that happened. However, his ships did reach Spain in the end, so he was still celebrated as the first person to circumnavigate. Yada yada. They talk for 2 minutes or less. I always like to have them cite where they found their information, and then they would go ahead and stop recording and hit this blue arrow. So here I am talking about, and then I say, yes, that sounds good. Now, this is a step that some students have missed. They have to take a picture of themselves as kind of like a screenshot for their video. Again, I'm covering my camera so you can't see me, but I'll just go ahead and give myself some kind of face or something, an emoji face to put on there. Some sunglasses, yeah. Okay, so I took a selfie and then hit next, and I'm done. So it's uploading my video. I make sure that my name is spelled correctly. I title my video, Magellan's Journey. I don't really need to make a link because my teacher's going to get it. I don't have Google Classroom. Maybe for upper grades, that would be an option too. Okay, so I'm going to submit my video as a student. Yay! If I wanted to download it, I could. If I wanted to download my picture, I could, but it's not necessary. And then I would hit complete. Now, as a student, I will start to see that other students their videos are starting to be uploaded as well. So the screen might start showing me my peers their responses. And so it's a really cool tool to be able to click on my peers and see what they are saying and even commenting on what their videos are saying as well. So I've gone through this with my class on how to, if you are politely disagreeing, how to respond in a polite manner or professional manner. If you are agreeing with them, how to respond that way as well. But this is just a really good tool if you wanted to respond, to be able to create a cool classroom online discussion. Okay, so this is all you need for the students portion. To go back to the teacher's screen, I will refresh that because then we should see one student response, hopefully. There we go. So this is a student's response. I will click on the student's response and be able to watch what my student had said. And I won't play that because that wouldn't sound very nice. I can leave a vibe here. I've done this on several videos already. And really it's just kind of giving them a shout out like, yes, great job. Kind of like one of those stickers you put on their worksheets. If my students had an email address, I'd be able to give them like some feedback. I can video some feedback for John Smith, or I can kind of create a grading rubric. I think, yeah, your idea was accurate. Your performance on screen was accurate. And then it says, please add an email to send that feedback. So that feedback will really not be able to be sent to the student unless they do have an email address. I could copy this feedback link if I used Google Classroom to send to my students. I can always mark this as like a featured response so that other students see like this one was an accurate description of Magellan's Journey. And there's other things that you could do here. You can share it, you can check for replies from other students, or you can reply here yourself. So I'll show you my other grid and what it might start to see. Usually when I grade the responses, I'll just have to watch each one, kind of make some detailed comments so I remember, and then go from there and transfer the grid over. I can also print response QR codes if the student's having a really hard time trying to find the grid and I don't understand. There's other things you could do if you want to duplicate the exact same response again or download all the videos, you can too. For my other grid that's pretty much in the works, this is my language arts grid. We did several reading responses to Sign of the Beaver. We did written, but this is also a good differentiation for students who are having a hard time writing or just need another mode. If I click on this, let's say Sign of the Beaver chapters 1 through 5, I have my response there. The students have already had the code or the printed QR code so they can log in. And then you can see that students have already actively participated in responding. You can see that students here are replying to their peers. So I'm able to view what they're saying and if it's appropriate to their peer. And then I'll just go through and read each one. And then say, for instance, we've got a lot of responses on here and I don't really need to see any more Sign of the Beaver responses. I can delete those by going into Actions and deleting the topic. Now, our Literature Day book report will be done on FlipGrid, and so I've kind of made little topics here for them to be able to upload their video onto FlipGrid. So for instance, the book explanation, I just kind of ask them to state this paragraph, filling in the blanks, so that I know what video or what book they're reading and how long it's going to take them to read it. And so you can see a lot of students have already responded, and looks like only one has responded to their peer. I also made a separate one where they were where they will record their book report commercials. So it doesn't look like there hasn't been anyone that has started yet, which is good because they should be reading. But in their book report packet, all I have is a FlipGrid code, and so they would just type that in. Or I can give them the QR code from home. They can, scan it, or I'll send the link through an email and parents can click on it so they can work on this at home too. So yeah, that is pretty much what the nitty-gritty details of FlipGrid is. The kids love it. You can see how it actually tells you how many hours of engagement these students have had, how many views they've had of each other's. My grids are completely private to myself, my parents, and that is all. So that's my review of FlipGrid and how it could help in your classroom or in your projects. Thank you for watching.